I mean, it's a little better. Saw 6 was released in 2009, directed by Kevin Greutert, starring Tobin Bell, Costas Mandylor, and Betsy Russell. And yeah, I didn't like Saw 5. This one's a little better, so let's go ahead and start off with the good. And there's still things to love in this movie. First of all, Tobin Bell as John Kramer, obviously. He gets less and less screen time throughout these films, but what he does with his screen time is really great. I really love the way Tobin Bell plays the character. You have Costas Mandylor as Mark Hoffman, and he's still the main killer in this movie. And I really love the way he plays Hoffman in this movie, the way he's still trying to cover up his tracks and get the investigation off of himself, and this time having to deal with the FBI finding out. I really love the way how he plays the character and the way he's always covering up his tracks, making sure he's not found out. And then you have Betsy Russell as Jill, and she was introduced in Saw 4, and she was really good in 4 and 5, but I feel like this is where she really gets to come into play here, because you get this reveal at the end where she was also a contingency plan in case Hoffman went off the rails, and he does. So she tries to clean up that mess. Obviously, it doesn't succeed because there's a seventh movie. But I really love the way she plays Jill. Jill's a pretty interesting character. And outside of those main three, the story here is pretty interesting, and the main game is actually really good. It's a very blatant, on-the-nose message about the corruption that tends to go on within insurance companies. But I feel like it's a really effective story here. You got this owner of this insurance company who's forced to make a bunch of tough decisions due to his negligence and causing a lot of people to die over the years because of him denying them coverage. And I thought that was a really interesting way and reason to have a game. And it's got some really good traps. You got the lung capacity trap, the boiler room maze, and a lot of people's personal favorite, you have the shotgun carousel. And I can see why. It's a very, very good sequence, very intense, probably the most intense in this entire movie. And you get some of the most brutal kills in this movie. This is probably the bloodiest in the franchise, in my opinion. I don't count 7, and we'll talk about that later, but this is probably the goriest in the franchise, in my opinion. I just really love how gritty it feels coming off the cusp of Saw 5, where there's not really a whole bunch of blood, and what little we get is mainly at the very end of the movie. But I still really love the traps and the kills here. And a fun thing to see was you get a cameo, you get Devin Bostick in this movie. And this is before Devin Bostick was in Die for Wimpy Kid. So he still hadn't made it big yet, but really fun to see him here. And you get a really great ending, some really great reveals, as the Saw movies have come to be known for, is the final reveals. And I feel like the final reveals here are pretty effective. They're not, groundbreaking like the first movie, but still really great. Revealing about how far back Hoffman's partnership with John goes, and also the reveal that Amanda was present when Jill had her miscarriage. That was a really great reveal as well. And obviously the score and soundtrack is great. I've always said it. The Saw theme is one of my favorites of all time in the entire genre of horror. But that's about all for the good. On to the bad. And there's a few things I'm not a fan of. First of all, you have the main guy that's tested in this movie. Aside from the main three, I just don't exactly care much for any of the other characters that are involved within the game. I think they're either forgettable or unlikable, especially the main guy that we're focusing on here, which the ending was very satisfying for me because of how unlikable the main guy was. But yeah, after Saw 4, we're kind of just left with games full of people who we don't care whether they live or die. So yeah, that's I gotta take points for that because I don't know. I kind of want a likable protagonist in a horror movie every now and then. And then some of the pacing, even though this movie is only an hour and a half, some of the pacing does seem to drag on just a little bit. And also, I'm personally not a fan of the ending where Hoffman just goes full psycho and murders an entire group of FBI agents. I feel like that was a little okay, what are we doing here? But that's about all for the bad. On to the final thoughts. I do enjoy Saw 6. Much better than Saw 5, but nowhere near as much as Saw 1 through 4. Saw 6 is a passable entry into the franchise with some pretty good kills, and I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on Saw 6. Have you seen this movie? Let me know down in the comments what you thought about it if you have seen it. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.